You're listening to the Punisher Waterfowl's The Union 0430 podcast, brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality, built to hunt. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430. This is episode 141. And you know what? It took us a long time to get him to come on the first time. But now here he is once again, second time. We got Mr. Patrick Heindrichs, the owner of Canadian Waterfowl Supplies down in Scotland, Ontario. He's come on with us tonight. So thanks, Pat, for joining us. All the rest of the boys are all over the place right now. Like I was telling Pat earlier, it's like herding cats trying to get Ryan, Mark, and Dave on the go. Phil's at work, so Phil's probably the only one that's got a real good reason for missing out on this. But Pat, buddy, thanks so much for coming back on. I want to pick your brain. I got a lot of stuff that I want to ask you, and I'm sure our listeners, the millions of them that every week, I'm sure they've got some questions that they're wondering as well. So thanks again for coming on, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, good to be here. Good to be here. So it'll be a one-on-one conversation this evening.
Yeah, just one-on-one. Well, which normally is always the case because I usually run my mouth a bit too much. And
I noticed that you do talk a good jag.
and then the other boys are just sitting there just, listening to me talk. So I don't blame them when they got something else on the go, because they usually don't get a word in anyways. But yeah, no, it's great. This is the first time I've seen you since you and Ryan stopped by at the Toronto Sportsman Show. So it hasn't been that long since we've crossed paths. So, but I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Are you hearing that?
Yeah, I'm okay on my end.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of clicking, but seems to be okay.
So I gotta admit, I've invested in a mixer. So I didn't know what this thing was, screwing around on the internet. So anyways, microphones go plugged into it and your computer goes plugged into it, and you can like all kinds of I don't know.
Well, so you can make me sound like Donald Duck now.
Well, if I can, it's not going to be anytime soon because I'm still trying to figure out all the buttons. But I can do stuff like this. Did you hear that?
No.
Oh, well, anyways, I hit a laughter button, so I don't know if that's going to come through.
Oh, on the main. Yeah. No, I didn't hear it.
Huh. Anyways, I'm trying to get some new technology in to try and make my life a little bit easier. But unfortunately, I'm a little bit thick, and trying to figure out how to use it is another thing. I usually let Dave do all this kind of stuff, but I thought I'd do it this time. So
Dave's not here.
Dave's not here. Yeah. So no, that but it's good to have you on, Pat. Like, it really is, buddy, because like I said, there's a pile of people that's wondering, and here we are now. Spring season's on the go. Turkey is right around the corner. I did want to ask you though, do you have anything on the go? Jesus. Is that?
Yeah, I heard that bouncing back and forth.
Are you
Oh, I lost you. I can't hear you.
What's going on?
There you go. Nope.
What the hell is happening? Can you hear me, Pat?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
This is starting to okay.
Right.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, with turkey season just around the corner, I'm just wondering, do you have any sales coming up for turkey season? I know you normally do.
Yeah, we don't have anything going right now. I would expect that within a couple of weeks, there'll be there anything that's pretty well sitting here left over, we'll end up putting up on sale to try to clear it out.
right. Um, but
There's the odd items. I mean, with the turkey stuff, you can see if you compare this year to last year, there was no price increases with regards to anything on it.
okay,
So we've kind of held the line on that, and I mean, sales have been pretty good with regards to the turkey products going out the door because everybody likes Dave Smith decoys and
yeah,
such too. So, and the Woodhaven calls are just phenomenal, just phenomenal. The one thing that really surprises me about Woodhaven calls, because maybe it's just because I'm an old man and I'm used to, I'll take one call or two calls to go out with me.
yeah,
There are a lot of turkey hunters now that take a lot of different calls out with them into the field. If this is not working, then let's try this one. And, let's try a little change up on the tones and see what happens with regards to it.
yeah. Like you see, I'm not a real experienced turkey hunter, but the fellas that I go out with, like it, it's an art. Like you're really read. I know with geese and ducks, you got to read the birds and know what they're doing, but with turkey, it's on a different level altogether. Like,
Yeah, there's all kinds of things that happen when you're turkey hunting. I mean, I've had instances where I was sitting there with my back to a tree, I had a turkey walk through right beside me.
really,
And basically I was looking at his butt all the way up until he finally got to the decoys and turned his head, right? And I've been busted a few times. I've kind of gotten away from the idea of putting my back up against a tree, and I move more towards blinds now a little bit
yeah,
because I find I can do about an hour and a half sitting up against a tree, and then after that, that's it. I have to move, and it's cost me birds here and there. You hear that little put, and it's boom. Okay, we're done.
I read somewhere the other day, so they were talking about, that very thing, right? Leaning up against a tree, the just a low lying ground line, or then these
Mhm.
pop-up lines, right?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people going hemming and hawing and going back and forth on what they liked and what they thought was the best. But then one gentleman chimed in and said, listen, like if you're not making a sound and you're not moving, it doesn't matter what you're hiding in when
Yeah,
it
they're not going to know.
they're
They're
not
not
going to
going
know.
to know.
Like if you're quiet and not moving, you could be in whatever it is, whatever you want that's going to make you comfortable for the longest amount of time.
Mhm.
Got to do is just be quiet and not move.
Yeah, yeah, that's what those birds really pick up on the movement
Yeah,
quick, or even a little rustling. You move a bit and you snap a small branch or something like that. I mean, their hearing is good, their
yeah.
sight is phenomenal, but they couldn't smell a vat of ammonia if they were right beside it pretty well. So at least you don't have to worry about taking a shower when you go out in the morning.
Well, then, yeah, because I remember Mark Vitch telling me one time that if deer had the eyesight of a turkey, that you'd never be able to hunt them because it'd be just way, way, way too hard to try and harvest a deer if they
Yeah.
had the eyesight of a turkey.
Oh yeah, for sure it would be. And I mean, if you're, it doesn't matter what kind of hunting that you're doing. If you're doing turkey hunting or deer hunting or or goose and duck hunting, I mean, motion is always a key factor
Yeah,
inside of it. You can be sitting there looking through the woods and not really seeing anything, but you'll just catch a little glimpse of
yeah,
movement, and it catches your eye and it's drawn to it, and then you can mark your turkey or your deer.
yeah,
And we all know that motion's critical when you're duck and goose hunting, because you use those goose flags and there's a reason for that,
yeah,
right? They're going to see that motion more at a distance with regards to it.
yeah,
So motion's key factor. And I can sit in here and be looking in the field across the way and not really see anything,
yeah,
but if something moves, I'll catch it then.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Pat, what's your thoughts on so and I'm a little bit in the middle here. I don't really have a strong opinion on it, but you know, when we're talking about these these blinds. So these panel blinds now, right? Like I just got 2 new panel blinds,
Yep.
these pop-up blinds, the layout blinds, and all this stuff, which is all great because when you get to the place that you're going to hunt, you grass them in and you
Mhm.
all of this stuff, right? Now we spend an exorbitant amount of money on these blinds, and then we do all this work to grass them all in and to make them look like they belong where they are,
Right.
and yet we cover ourselves completely in camo and spend another exorbitant amount of money. And then so I've heard fellas say, well, I don't care what I wear inside, I wear solid colors on the inside of these
Yeah.
blinds, because if I camouflage up my blind the way that it should be,
Then
then
you're pretty well hidden inside of it. And that is true. I mean, a lot of times you'll see, you've probably seen pictures on Facebook where I'm wearing a dark timber,
yeah,
because we're using panel blinds and we're out in the middle of a field, and with the blind being camoed up,
yeah.
it doesn't really make a difference what I'm wearing underneath.
That's
If I'm standing in a marsh, not inside of a blind, or if I'm just, tucked up behind a little bit of corn, you got 1 or 2 rows of corn and sitting there in front of you,
yeah,
and you're hunting the edge there, then you're going to want some camouflage to be able to blend in.
yeah. Now, you just brought up a good thing because, like, I know you're a big fan of Sitka's um, timber pattern, and
Yes.
First Light is coming out with what they're calling it's the same thing. It's a timber pattern. They're calling it cash. Now, I'm of the opinion that the timber and the cash patterns would work way better here in Canada as opposed to the Optifade and the Taifa pattern, right? Now I get it if you're standing out in a cornfield, then Optifade and the Taifa works, and I get
Yeah.
it. But I'm talking about if you only have $600 or $700 to outfit yourself in clothing, what are you going to go with? Are you going to go with the light colors of Optifade and Taifa, or are you going to go with the timber or the cash? And
I would go with the darker colors,
me
but
too.
because when you turn around and you have the darker colors, it'll also enable you to use it more. You're not going to use it just for waterfowl. You're going to use it on those cold mornings when you're hunting turkey.
Yeah.
Uh, Even if you're tucked up against a tree,
Hmm.
you're going to use it deer hunting. You can use it deer hunting sitting up in the stand. I
Yeah.
don't recommend. I don't really recommend pushing deer using something that's Gore-Tex
Right.
and poking holes through it.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting up in the stand and you know it's going to be a rainy day, to me, that's great protection. The only thing when you run into products like Gore-Tex, they do make some noise if you move. So you just got to be careful, especially if you're using the same products for turkey and deer.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
and a lot of guys that are deer hunting, sitting up in the stand, most of the time they're bow hunting using a crossbow
Yeah.
or a compound, right?
Yeah.
So with a compound, you're going to get a little bit more movement,
Hmm.
but if you're just using a crossbow, I mean, it's not much. If you're sitting there and you got to rest, you just got to move it up just a little bit, right? So I like the darker colors,
Yeah.
and it works well. It's fine for in behind a panel blind. Late season generally, if you're hunting in snow, then I like to have some white,
Yeah.
inside of the camo pattern, at least
Yeah.
do it that way there. But all around, if I had to choose one color, I'd use timber.
Yeah, and that's sort of kind of like my train of thought too. I think that if you're if you only have the ability or the opportunity to have one camo pattern, and let's face it, we all know that it's expensive gear, and I'm of the opinion you buy it once, you try and buy the best that you can buy up front, and then you try and make it work for you the best you can, right? So
Yeah.
I think that the darker colors are better as well. I think, especially in my area, I think it's more suited for my area because I don't hunt a lot of corn anyways.
Yeah, and if you're hunting cricks in areas like that, and there's a bunch of dogwoods and everything, the darker patterns are gonna blend you right in.
Yeah. So
So
so now, Pat, like you've been, man, like, I've known you for, I don't know, it seems like I've known you for 8, 10 years, and
well,
you
yeah, I think we met around 2013, 14, somewhere in there.
somewhere around there, and you've always been like you've been a big Sitka guy right from the beginning, and you've always stocked your shop with a lot of Sitka gear. And I remember first when Sitka come out, and these premium brands that were, providing an unbelievable product, but come with a heavy price tag. And I
Mhm.
remember way back then, like people were like, "Man, like that's crazy. You're paying that kind of money for pants and a jacket and stuff like that." But now it seems like it's the norm. Like
Yeah, yeah, it
everybody,
is. And I mean, there's still nothing wrong with it. If you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of cash, and a lot of people are in that now. I mean, you turn around, you go fill up your truck and get groceries, there's $500 gone.
right?
There's nothing wrong with just using, the grandfathers used to hunt with just something brown.
Yeah,
And the big secret was do not move.
yeah.
Do not move. If
Well, and
and your cover. If you're duck hunting and goose hunting, the number one thing is your cover up and behind there.
but the other thing, Pat, is that I think, you know, where now we're a society where everything we have instant information and instant everything
Mhm.
now, right? So if you're looking at me and looking at you and looking at Ryan and Dave and all the guys, we're all wearing high end gear,
Yeah.
but we're all in our mid 40s and beyond. We weren't wearing high end gear when we
No,
were 14 years old or
no,
20 years old, right?
no,
So,
we were getting wet and cold.
and that's the thing, right? I think some people need the you, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. You just got to get out. As long
Yeah,
as you're out, and you'll Ryan talks about going out when he was a kid and putting, the plastic bags in his rubber boots. So his,
yeah,
he had leaky rubber boots and plastic bags in there. Everybody went out dressed like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man just to try and stay warm. It's when we
mhm.
got older and we were able to sneak a few dollars away from the wife here and there that you could save up and buy yourself something, right? So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that, we talk about this gear and we talk about First Light, we talk about Sitka and all these brands. Um, but I know I wasn't always wearing them. I was
Oh,
wearing canvas jackets and a pair of sweatpants underneath it.
and even nowadays, if it's a case where you're starting up and your main focus right now is
Mhm.
really your outer layer.
Yeah,
If you can get anything that's going to keep you dry
yeah,
on the outer layer,
yeah,
then you can layer up whatever you want underneath of it. I mean, we've all got, fleece kicking around, we've got vests kicking around. It doesn't matter so much there, but number one thing when you're starting with your clothing is you got to get that outer layer, because when you're duck hunting and goose hunting, you
yeah,
hunt in some pretty crappy conditions.
yeah. And
Right.
you've got to be able to adapt to what you're into, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we did one hunt last year. Chris and I went out to a field hunt. And I mean, that morning started out as I think it was +7 and raining.
Yeah.
And it finished up at -23 2 hours later.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a
That was just before Christmas when we had that bad storm. And we were sitting in the middle of the field doing a little bit of duck hunting. And I mean, if it wasn't for the outer layers, we would have been done a lot quicker.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point too, because if you're wearing that, and again, I don't want to put so much attention on the quality gear. But if you dress properly, I guess
Yes.
that's the best way to put it. If you dress properly, and it doesn't have to be a $600 jacket, if you're layering and you're just doing it the right way, you're extending your hunts every
Oh
day.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's no way that if we weren't sitting there in that kind of, and I mean, we're both older guys in our
Yep.
50s and 60s, right? So
Yep.
it's a case of, if we weren't sitting there wearing completely waterproof outer clothing
Yeah.
and layered up underneath,
Yeah.
we
You
wouldn't
wouldn't
have
have
lasted
lasted. No.
very long at all.
No, no, good point. Good point. I wanted to I sort of kind of touched on it first when we started the show, Pat, when I said that we hadn't seen each other since we had done the Toronto Sportsman show. So um obviously we done an episode right after the Toronto Sportsman show where we bragged about it all kinds, and we spent too much time talking about it. But for you, and you can say whatever you want, because you're really not going to hurt my feelings or anything. But for you, you you came up to the show to visit, to take it all in, to have a look and see what it was all about. Have After not seeing it for a couple years, what was your thoughts of the Toronto Sportsman show, and then the area that we had, the Refuge?
Actually, I thought it was a great idea to put a focus on just waterfowl in one specific area with regards to it. So, I mean, kudos to you for pulling that together with regards to it. It was really good, and it was nice you had the guys from Delta and DU there as well.
Yeah.
Um, the show itself, I thought, was pretty good compared to what it had been in previous years. It was nice to see the dogs back again. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
Always liked going to watch retriever trials and such on there. So it was nice to see the dogs back working again. And it was nice to be able to basically go to one area to kind of focus on what you're we're looking for.
Yeah.
And I thought it was well put together. I did. I thought when we came back and we just said, well, that's actually a really good show.
Yeah.
And you guys had mentioned that the attendance was really good as well. So
The attendance was out of control. I can't remember what the percentage was, but the numbers I seen um, was about 40,000 people that had come through the doors that weekend. One gentleman, we don't know who it was, but there was one vendor. I have an idea who it was, but there was one vendor that is that has been said to have $75,000 worth of sales each day he
oh
was.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me based on the people that were there. It did seem like it was a case where not as much on tire kickers. People were interested in looking for products.
Yeah.
I know all of my grandson around, we spent a bit of money on fishing tackle.
That kid cracked me up.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, but again, right? Like I think the time was right. People were looking to get out, and I think the previous people that were running the Toronto Sportsman Show, I think they sort of kind of lost their way a little bit on what they had for vendors and who they were filling the spots with. And now this new company has come in and taken over. I think they've put the focus back onto, hey, listen, let's make this back to what it was. And then you talk about the dogs. It's awesome because we seen the dogs, and now I just seen the other day a post that you guys are now a sponsor for the hunter retrieval trials.
Yeah, we started that last year actually.
Okay.
We started that last year. So and it's a natural progression for us. Originally, when we first started the business, we dabbled a bit in dog products, but now we've got quite a few different types of dog products. I mean, we're carrying the bumpers, carrying a lot of the Momarsh products,
Yeah.
and the e-collars, and it was only just a natural progression for us to build a relationship with the retriever clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way that the show had set that up with all the chairs there, and I only got down there a couple times, but every time I got down there was a lot of people that wanted to watch dogs and really interested, and they did it the right way, because there was at one point someone told me that they let the kids come in, and they had the kids, running the dogs and picking up marks and stuff like that, right? So anytime that you engage the children, and they walk away with a good time, well, then the parents are coming back again.
Yeah, and dogs and kids just kind of go together. They really do. They
100.
really,
But
and
I
it's
can't.
and it's nice with the labs. I mean, we've had labs for years,
Yeah.
and I see it with little Joel coming around, especially with Merle.
Yeah.
Uh, he can do anything to that dog, and that dog just okay. If it's that bad, he's just going to go and move.
Yeah.
But generally, if he wants to pull on that dog's ear, he's going to stand there and take it and wag his tail the whole time, right? So it's to me, they're one of the best all round dogs,
Yeah.
and it's really anytime you can sit there and watch them. I mean, we hunt for meat, so
Yeah.
we're not on the strict. We're not as strict with regards to, our dog has to be able to do this and do this and do this. Uh, it's amazing what the labs can do when they are fully trained,
Oh yeah.
and the control that the owners have over them, and you see that in the trials with
Well,
regards to it.
yeah, and not only in the trials though, Pat, like you're hanging out, like you spend a lot of time with Chris Bales.
Oh
uh,
yeah, yeah.
and Chris is a phenomenal dog trainer.
And Chris does a lot of judging now too.
He does.
He does. Yeah.
Also, you see it all around, like as you're traveling around, and you see and you hear what people are doing, but then you get to witness it firsthand with your own dogs, and then when you see what Chris is doing, and the things that his dog, I forget his dog's name now, but
Cal is. I've hunted with Cal quite a bit,
because
and Cal.
Cal was going to be the stud for my dog. But she didn't come in the heat in time or anything. But Cal was going to be the stud for my dog for a
Yeah,
little. I was.
and Cal's an amazing dog to hunt with.
Oh
It's that, and it's funny because Chris will show up in the morning, and he's got Cal in the truck, and it probably starts the minute that he puts that dog in the truck, but that tail doesn't stop all day.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, it's a constant thing all day, and it's kind of funny with Cal because I mean he's an older dog, and if you're sitting there hunting and you miss a shot, and it almost seems like Cal's kind of looking at you, giving you grief about it.
he is. I'm sure he is, because I think they know, right? Like
Yeah.
the thing about them, and I'm glad that you brought. I love talking about the dogs, and usually it's when Matt Wilson comes on the show, we'll usually do like a half hour easy at talking about dogs. But the thing is that if you uh, if you pay attention to him, and you sort of kind of got to it when the dog gets in the truck and his tail is going, like the dog is just wants to please. It
Oh
wants
yeah.
to please and just wants to go to work and do what it's. I'm of the mentality that the dog is appreciative of the fact that you give it a warm place to sleep and you feed it every night, um and then in return the dog's going to go work for you. That's the way I see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I think they realize it. I really do. I think the dog realizes that's the relationship, and that's why they're so excited when they get out and they actually go to work, right? So
Oh, I know, and and I mean it's a case around here. If you're putting camo on and going out the door,
yeah.
boy, you get some dirty looks during turkey and deer season where it's kind of like, why am I not going with you?
We got a little bit sidetracked there, Pat, but I did want to, because I know there's people that are wondering, because they've personally asked me, and I wanted to put it to you so that you can say it. But will we see Canadian Waterfowl Supplies in the Refuge next year at the Toronto Sportsman Show?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty safe bet that we'll be there next year. And
And
you twisted my arm pretty hard.
what?
I mean, and really for us going up this year to take a look at it, it was just really okay. Well, let's see what's going on with it now, because I mean, years ago when with the folks that were previously running it, at times you'd walk in and you think there's not really that much here for the outdoors.
Yeah.
It's, you've got people selling t-shirts and jewelry and odds and sods, and it was nice to see the focus go back to the outdoors. And there was a lot of stuff there with kids. I mean, there was an awful lot of smiles around that trout pond when the little ones were hauling in a fish, right?
Absolutely. And that's what I mean. Like if you can bring kids to an event like that and they're engaged and they're happy, well, the parents are going to come back, right?
Yes.
And that's just, that's not rocket appliances or nothing like that. That's just the way it is. If you can keep the kids engaged and keep them happy, and it's a day where they're not losing their mind, well, it's a good day. I think I think a lot of businesses and a lot of business owners approached it the same way as you did. In the past, it wasn't the greatest show. They sort of kind of lost their way, and then they came in this year, sort of. Well, let's see if they've made any improvements.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were happy with the improvements that they seen, and now, so for anybody that was at the show this past March, you should be excited because I think it's going to be even better next year
I
because
think so too. I think you're going to see a lot more vendors inside there
yeah,
next year.
I think so too because
And people that are specifically focused towards the outdoors. And I think that show is only going to get bigger and better.
Mhm, absolutely. So now, so we've got that. So everybody, you can start pinching your pennies and saving up now. He's coming, and he's going to be coming with his gear. And Dave and I aren't even putting a booth in the Refuge next year because we're just going to be running to Pat's trailer and back and just running gear the whole time. So
Well, you use it as cheap labor.
yeah, yeah, just abuse us. We're used to it. We're used.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
like
I was going to say there's that other show coming up too. There's that Ducks Unlimited Grimsby is putting on that show again, right?
yeah, yeah, you were there last year. I
Right.
think, and that was the first time that those guys had done that. So Steve Segulik and Marco Cunha and that group of volunteers that they have. I think that was a fabulous event last year. The only thing that I didn't like about it, and they've rectified it, was remember how when we sat down to dinner that night, like you,
Oh, I was beat.
you were beat. Me and my son, we were toast.
Yeah.
They've split it over 2 different dates now, so they're not going to have the dinner on the same day as the actual Grimsby show. So that'll be good. But again, yeah, good point in bringing that up. That's another fabulous show. And you're going.
And that's coming up before season. That's in August too. So
Yeah,
that's
I think it's 19th of August. I think
yeah.
we're in around there. And you're going to be going and setting up.
Yeah, we're going to go to that one too. Obviously, it's going to be really busy here at the time, but we'll see if we can pull a couple of staff and just get everybody down there like last time and do a bit there and keep it fairly busy here. So
Yeah. Well, like Dave and I always say, like we don't really do a whole lot anymore when it comes to the booth space and selling stuff anymore. So we're cheap labor for you, buddy. So all you got to do is let us know because we're going to be there anyway. So anything.
yeah. No, I appreciate the offer. So
Uh,
it's oh, I forgot to say congrats too. I heard First Light is a sponsor now for your show.
yeah. So that's been a buddy. We've been waiting a long time to make that. So First Light and Ducklander calls, as well as Real Geese, who's been
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the original sponsor to the show, have been Real Geese, which Craig Mintz is a phenomenal human being, which you know, because you know Craig personally, but Bobby Hayes from Ducklander Calls, he's joined on with us now, and First Light. So yeah, I don't know, Pat. Like I said, man, we've known each other for close on to 10 years now, and it's humbling, really, because when this started, you know, it started because I just wanted to get out and hunt some more and meet some new people.
Right, right.
And now I get these companies that I've been following, and you know, and now they're reaching out to me. So
And
you know,
it's great to be able to talk with people from all over the place, isn't
oh
it?
yeah.
That's one of the big things that we've always enjoyed about doing this is we have great conversations with people all across Canada and the US.
Well, the thing for me, and Dave will agree too if he was here, is that I think sometimes you think these people that own these companies, like, they're big shots, and you know, they may be a little bit full of themselves and stuff. That is, I have never come across, um since we've been doing this, a business owner that has treated us bad. Like, maybe we don't have a relationship, but they weren't jerks to me, or they weren't assholes to me. That
Right.
it just didn't make sense with regards to their business, right? But I've never had a jerk or anybody. They've always been good, and they've given me a reason on why it just wouldn't work with us. But I love it. Like, we I talked to Bobby Hayes and Jeff Coates and Eric Massey and you and Ryan, and then all these guys across Canada. It's humbling, really. It really is, when, like, when I'm pounding away on the computer, and Jeff Coates calls me out of the blue, just because he's
Just
driving,
to talk. Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
talk,
Yeah.
like, because he's on the highway and he just wants to have a chat. Like, it just, it blows me away,
Yeah,
really.
you're pretty easy to talk to though.
I yeah,
Well, you're blushing.
yeah, see, I can't. I love attention, but I don't like it being directed at me, because
Oh, okay.
I don't know how to react. Anyways, we're going to get away from this. I wanted to talk about new stock that's coming in, for 2023, what you're expecting to come in this fall, um, and what Canadian waterfowlers can expect to see on the shelves, for you. Anything new and exciting? Like,
There's a few new products. There's not a lot. I think a lot of companies are still kind of reeling
yeah.
from the COVID thing. There's a few key ones though. Both Lucky Duck and Mojo are coming out with different spinners with a
Oh,
focus on black style wings.
okay.
Yeah, so both of them have offerings coming up that way there. Dakota's Dog Blind, which is was available last year, and we didn't get it with our main shipment. We've got those on order to come in this year. There's some new products coming in from Heyday and Lifetime. We're also doing some changes and increasing the offerings with regards to in the game processing area. So there'll be some new products inside there for that. And what else have we got that's new? Sometimes I actually forget because there's so much of it, right? So, but the one product that we're kind of excited about, obviously that collapsible dog blind.
Yeah.
The Dakota one, if with that X blind there, I think it's a great tool the way that it works, that you can lock your dog inside.
Uh-huh.
And it's great, especially for starting to work with young dogs, because we all know how dangerous it is when you're getting dogs that break
Yeah.
and they're running out in front of the guns when the guys are still shooting. And that's always been one of the scary things in regards to field hunting,
Yeah.
especially with a new pup and starting to work a new dog, right? Generally, when you're doing that, I mean, normally you got one guy working the dog, and he's not shooting, but we all like to get out there and we all like to shoot birds, and it's going to make it easier for everybody all the way through.
Well, we done a hunt last fall. We done a camp. And Lander, like my dog, like she's a good dog, like retriever, like she'll go all day long, but she got into this habit of breaking.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately that's what I had to do. I had to put my gun down, and I had to handle her to make sure that she wasn't, wasn't being dangerous or anything like that. So I'm going to be changing the way I operate this year, that it looks as though she's going to be staked down all the time now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if not, then I'll never get to hunt. I'll have to constantly have her by the collar, and I'll never get to hunt, right? So any of those products, so that Dakota blind, like
Dakota blind is going to be a big one, and especially, like I said, especially for the new guys, or guys with new dogs.
Yeah.
That are taking them out and working them. And I mean, we've all run into the situation where we got dogs, especially the first of the year, and they're as excited as we are, and it's hard to hold them back in.
Yeah. Well,
and I mean, I've even seen dogs that are trained for trials, and they'll break.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna take it hard on the e-collar, and they're gonna learn the lesson, but it is dangerous, and it's nice to have another way to do it instead of having to stand there and hold the dog. I mean, like Merle's at 85 pounds of muscle, right? So yeah. If you take him out hunting right off of the bat in the year, he's going to want to break too.
That's right.
And if you're trying to hold that boy, he'll be dragging you through the water. So that one's pretty exciting. Quack Attack, who's been on the show, we're going to have some products from them this year too.
Oh, good.
So
good.
Yep, we're looking forward to that. It was nice. They sent us up some samples. We tried them.
Yeah.
Got to try them during the late season goose hunt too. So
good, eh?
we'll be bringing up some of their products. We had a couple other frying pans into the fire that didn't pan out this year. Mm-hmm. We're still hoping that they'll pan out for next year anyways, and we'll see what happens with that there. Echo Calls, new for us this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we've started bringing their products in. The first shipment's actually already here too.
Oh, good.
The Woodhaven turkey calls this year. There was a lot of new diaphragm calls. There was some of the hunting public products. Have you watched any of those videos?
Yeah, I have watched some of their videos. They do a great job. They really, really do on their YouTube channel. They do.
Oh, they do. Yeah, I sat down there a few days ago and I watched one, and then it was okay. Then I watched two. Then I watched three.
Oh yeah, it's a slippery slope once you start.
Once you start, that turkey hunting's a little addictive. And we were talking about turkey hunting before, and you notice where a lot of the times with them, they'll be sitting with their butts basically parked against a tree, just don't move with regards to it, right? Whereas, well, we're in the situation now where we got the grandkids starting to come out too. So we like to be in the blinds. That way, the kids can move around a little bit. It's a lot better hunt that way there. But and with age, as I mentioned, I just can't sit with my back against a tree that long anymore.
Well, buddy, I'm going to tell you, in the Army, we used to have a saying that there was a fine line between being hardcore and being stupid.
Yeah.
And you know what? Anybody can be uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it's hard to stay still when you're uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. Ask Bitch and Bro, we went turkey hunting up in the Ottawa Valley one time, and I must have down like 4 or 5 coffees before we got to the field. And of course, I got a bladder the size of a pea, and they were losing their mind at me, because every 5 minutes I was like, boys, I got to use the bathroom. And they were like, dude, like the birds are on the way.
And as soon as you moved, that was it for the birds in that area, right?
I was like, I'll be quiet. They were like, be quiet enough. You can't not, like, unless you're just gonna go in your pants. They're gonna see you. They were not impressed with me.
Yeah. So, and really, as for some of the other products, I mean, like I said, we're always on the lookout for it. I
Mhm.
spent a fair amount of time, even on social media and such, snooping around to see what's coming from here,
Yeah.
what's coming from there. There's a possibilities of a few other ones still yet,
Yeah.
but they're not put down on paper yet. So
Right.
got to wait and see what happens with regards to it. We think that the supplies from the vendors themselves are going to be a lot better this year.
Yeah, because last year I remember talking to you, and like you were getting it in like dribs and drabs, like 2 and 3.
Dribs and drabs. Yeah, so some were really good. Others didn't do that great of a job with regards to it.
Yeah.
Uh, and we're expecting that it should be better this year. I mean, a lot of this stuff we don't have to worry about putting chips in it, but it always seems to be an issue with coming from overseas.
Right.
Seems
And
to be a problem. The US suppliers, like like Real Geese, they
yeah.
never slowed down at all. And the nice part with them is they weren't affected by price increases.
Mhm.
Whereas a lot of the products that come from overseas had some pretty hefty price increases last year. There's some that are coming down the pipes this year, like Beavertail had some price increases this year.
Okay.
But I mean, you can't really fault them too much for that because they hadn't had a price increase with us for like 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, during the bad stuff of COVID, we never really got much of we got a little bit of a price increase, but nothing too serious. And I think this year was the catch up year. So unfortunately, with their products, you're going to see the pricing going up on that. A lot of the other ones, though, it should pretty well toe the line.
Oh,
The
that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
which is really good. The Canada US dollar is obviously a big impact.
Yep.
And that's why most of the pricing that you see on the website right now is still 2022.
Yep.
We're not going to change it until the new stuff comes in.
Okay.
Really, because we were watching that Canada US dollar thing. I don't want to price it at $1.40,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is what it was for a while there.
Oh.
And then turn around and it drops down to $1.35, $1.30. We're hoping for $1.30, but I don't think it's going to happen this year.
I don't know. It seemed like we were getting a little bit of momentum there about a month ago.
Yeah.
And things were starting to. I was like, oh, this could be interesting, but it stalled just as fast as it looked like we got some momentum. It stalled there right again. So
Yeah,
uh,
and there was a little bit of gain in the Canadian dollar to US dollar, so that's obviously going to help a little bit too. But I mean, we were in the situation earlier this year, people asking me for quotes for products that they wanted in July, and it's just I can't price this for you right now.
yeah,
And you know what, we appreciate your business. The thing is, I can give you a quote right now, and I can bring that stuff in for you.
yeah.
But with the Canada US dollar being what it was at the time, I mean, it's just horrid. So it's a tough game with playing the currency transaction. But as far as the suppliers, they've been pretty good with regards to holding the lines.
But I never. I guess I thought about it, but I never put a ton of thought into it. So you're talking about here now. So we're into the spring. So these big outfitters and people that are out there, right? Like now is the time where they're starting to look at.
Yep.
I've got to do new gear. I need all new decoys. I need this and I need that. Um, and they're starting to reach out to you and say, hey, listen, I need 20 dozen full bodies. What am I going to get for a price? That's got to be well, and you just said it, but
And that's really, you can't, with everything being in such fluctuation right now, you can't really price it. That dollar could go to $1.45. We don't know.
yeah.
And it's a tough game to play, but right now we're just kind of holding the line, fingers crossed that it's gonna slowly come down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I guess at the end of the day, Pat, that's really all you can do, right? Like with
It's nice with us because we can actually, it's not a case where I have to do it in January or February. We can adjust the pricing accordingly when it comes in. I mean, if we get a better deal on it and the dollar's better, well,
yeah,
then our customers are going to get a better price on it.
that's right.
Yeah. So we don't have to set it early in the year and say, okay, this is what it's going to be for the year. Because I'm sure companies that were having to do that were probably quoting, figuring on exchange, running at $1.40.
Wow.
And and even looking at financial projections from the banks, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this by the third quarter, fourth quarter. You don't
No
know.
one's going to hang their hat on anything
No,
these days.
no, no. And I mean, with inflation being what it is, and the issues that every country is suffering from right now, it's tough to judge how much consumer demand there will be on certain products.
Well, like I'm thinking, like I hear you when you say that, and I would think the exact same thing, but yet I go to the Toronto Sportsman Show
And you see people spending money.
and I
Yeah.
see people spending money, and like, and good for them, that they were spending big money, because like I seen the dudes that were selling the ATVs, like they were selling ATV, the rack stacker guy, what's his name? I forget his name. Anyways,
It
uh,
should come to me.
yeah,
As soon as we hang up, it'll go, Steve,
Elmy.
Steve.
Steve Elmy, yeah. I talked to Steve, like he had those deer stand things there. Like he was selling those things, and
Yeah.
they weren't cheap. Now he was given a fairly good deal, a fairly good show deal on them.
Mhm.
But they were still expensive. He was
Oh
moving.
yeah.
ATVs were moving. That overland camping, that those fellas that go camping in their Jeeps, and the terrain doesn't matter. Like people were spending money, man. Like,
Yeah.
and it's good. It's good to see people that are spending their money. I think that's a generational thing. I think that the people now, young people that are in their 20s and 30s, I think they're more adapt to spending their money, as opposed to people like us who
Yeah, because and I mean, a lot of us remember back to when how bad it was in the late '80s, early '90s, right?
yeah,
When we,
when your house interest rate was 27%, right?
yeah, we got our. I remember because we got our first mortgage. It was 11%, and at the time, that was a great rate. But I can remember my parents having to renew, getting caught in between, and they had to renew once at 18.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy. So, like, uh, I look at it. I think the same way as you, but then when I see some of the things that I see, I'm like, well, you know what? The way I look at it now is that if someone wants to go hunt, they're going to go hunt.
yes,
They're
yeah,
going to
yeah,
go, and they're going to buy what they need to buy. So if they're serious about going out, they're going to go, and they're going to buy what they need to buy in order to do it. The people that are going to shy away from it are the ones that, you know what, it's not the end of the world if I don't get out 20 days this year.
yeah.
And
And there's always guys that want to change up their gear.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
we've seen in the last couple of years, though. I mean, even if you're looking on some of the marketplace things, the the prices of used gear have gone through the roof too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I was really surprised by looking at it, thinking those are really old decoys, and and I know how much they cost back then. And
I know. I look at it actually now. So now, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's been a bunch of scams, right? Like people selling panel blinds and decoys and stuff like this. I don't know what to believe anymore, because there's so many prices that's thrown around now that I'll see something on Facebook Marketplace or something for sale, and I'm just like, I don't know. That seems too good. It seems too good to be true that it's at that price, and I'll usually stand back and I'll like put a notification that I'm following it or whatever,
yeah,
and, and then somebody will go, get out of here. You're trying to scam us, or something like that, because
yeah.
there's just
Well, and that's one thing that we noticed a big uptick on during the COVID period was the scams.
oh yeah.
How many the amount of emails and scams that and scam telephone calls, and it just seems like it's tripled since COVID.
Oh yeah, and I tell you they're smart, because I got taken for about $400 on a video game console for my son, and I I'd like to think that, you know, that stuff don't get pulled over on me, but these guys, they were good enough that
Yeah.
it passed the initial test for me, and I sent them $400 for a PlayStation, and I
And it never showed up.
never showed up. So,
Yeah.
you know, that they're getting pretty creative.
Even the emails that come in, a lot of times I've got to double check. I look at them and I go, is that one real or not? You know, and you go back and do your homework on it, and then you go, no, fake scam.
Absolutely.
But yeah, they are getting far more creative with regards to it, and doing better that way, I
Yeah,
guess, for them. But unfortunately, it's hitting consumers pretty bad.
it is. I think we've pretty much got up to our hour, Pat. So that was pretty.
Oh, that's what happens, right? We start babbling about this, babbling about that.
Pretty good, because it was just the two of us, and we were like, "Oh, are we going to be able to get through this, just the two of us?" But you like to talk, I like to talk, and we can manage to do it. We can manage to get through an hour.
An hour goes pretty fast.
I'm looking forward to August. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you again down in Grimsby. I think it's going to be another great event. Hopefully it's not as hot this time as what it was the last time.
Well, it's August in Southern Ontario. There's not much you can do about that. Yeah.
But hopefully we won't be as beat up as what we were the last time, because that was harsh. That was a harsh weekend. And the pops in the evening didn't help none either.
They always dry you out for the morning after, right? So
Can't understand how you drink so much in the evening and you're so thirsty the next day. It just doesn't make sense.
yeah, it's hard to say what it's going to be. This, I mean, spring still seems like it's really slow coming, eh?
Well, I don't know, what did you guys get hit with that really hot weather last week?
Last week it was gorgeous.
It was amazing. I came from Florida, so we were in Florida where it was stupid down when we were in Florida, because we're usually in Florida 2 weeks earlier, but we didn't this year because of the Toronto Sportsman Show. So we
Right.
went 2 weeks later this year. We got down there and the heat was just stupid in Florida. And then I was like, oh, it'd be nice to get back to Ontario now, where, you know, it's sort of kind of seasonal. We come back and it was like 28 degrees when we were
Oh,
back.
I know. It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. And now we turn around like it snowed yesterday morning here.
Yeah,
Nothing that was going to stick on the ground, but just enough to aggravate you.
enough that when you wake up in the morning, you see it snowing, you want to cover your head back up and not get out of bed. That's the way I feel about it anyways.
Yeah.
Pat, buddy, thanks so much for coming on. I really am excited that you came on that first time, and then you're on again now, and I know that this is going to be a continuing thing. Can't wait to have you back on again. I am gonna let this slip out, and Dave's probably gonna get mad at me, but he's not here. So and he lives in Kincardine and I live in Kingston, so all he can do is yell at me over the phone. And I really can't do anything else about it. But we are now starting to plan our trips for the 2023 season. So our hunt camp. So we are looking at coming back down to your neck of the woods this year, Pat.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, we're looking at coming back down to Long Point, going into the Delta Waterfowl, you know, that area that they have.
Yeah, that's a nice setup they've got down there, right?
It's an amazing facility. We've used it before. It was a couple years ago, so we'll be looking to going back down there and hosting, getting some fellas in. And don't worry, ladies, we've thought about getting something geared up for you too. So yeah, so our planning is underway with regards to our camps. And you know what, my goal this year is to get you and Balesy to come join us in Long Point. So
oh yeah, that'd be fun. That'd
yeah.
be fun. So.
That was our hour, Pat, buddy. Thanks so much for coming on. I'll give you the last word.
It was great to be here. It was nice to talk with you again, and looking forward to everything we got upcoming. It should be a pretty exciting year.
It is going to be an exciting year. Thanks for, you know what, and I got to tell you, thanks for always being a voice that I can bounce stuff off and say, hey, listen, I want to do this. is you never sugarcoat nothing. You tell me how it is. If you can do it, you do it. If you can't, you can't. And you don't know how much I appreciate it, buddy. I really do.
I'm always happy to throw my 2 cents worth in. Yeah. That's part of the thing about being a waterfowler, right? It carries through to everything. You want to talk? Sure, I'll talk.
That's the best response I could have asked for. Thanks, buddy. Thanks again for coming on. Can't wait to have you on the show again. But in the meantime, we'll be seeing you here again real soon. So big love, everybody. Pat Heindrichs, Canadian Waterfowl Supplies. Please go check them out. They are the Canadian Waterfowl Authority. I'm changing up supplies and authority. So you want anything in Canada, that's who you go. I know you're going coast to coast to coast, Pat. You ship everywhere in Canada. So no excuse, everybody. Support Canadian, support local business, and can't wait to see you again, buddy. Big love.
Yeah, good stuff. You take care.
Yeah, you too.